After all the cooking I did over the holidays, I am so excited to get back to my slow cooker. And they're all dump and go, because sometimes you just want a delicious meal that you can make without spending all day in the kitchen. Hey y'all, I'm Valerie and welcome to my kitchen. In today's video, I'm sharing 6 new to me crockpot recipes that'll hopefully make your dinner time a whole lot easier. Okay y'all, let's get started. This was my first time trying the slow cooker Cajun Chicken Alfredo, and it was a winner. To my crock pot, I'm adding a diced red bell pepper and a diced yellow bell pepper, along with 1.5 pounds of boneless skinless chicken and a 15-ounce jar of Alfredo sauce. I'm also going to add 1 cup of chicken broth, but I poured mine in that Alfredo sauce jar just to make sure I got all that sauce out. Now I'm adding a can of Rotel, and I did not drain that. And for the seasonings, I did 2 teaspoons of the Slap Ya Mama Cajun Seasoning and some garlic powder. I covered this and set it to cook on low for 6 hours, or however long it takes for that chicken to be completely cooked through. And when it's done, you're going to take that chicken out, and you can shred it or you can dice it if you prefer, but I always shred mine. And if you wanted to, you could even cut this into little strips, kind of like little tenderloins. And after you get all that chicken added back in there, we're going to add in 3 cups of uncooked egg noodles, just the dry pasta, and about 1/3 of a cup of shredded Parmesan cheese. You're going to stir that and try to push those noodles down into that liquid. Now we're going to cover this back up, and you're going to switch it to high and let it continue to cook for about 15 more minutes. Just let it cook until those noodles are completely tender. And you do want to stir those noodles about halfway through just to make sure everything gets cooked evenly. Oh, and if you like yours a little hotter, feel free to add more Cajun seasoning or throw you in some diced green chilies. This was absolutely delicious. That sauce was amazing. I love the bell peppers in this, and that Cajun seasoning was just the right amount for us. And I really love that everything was cooked right here in the crock pot. I'll definitely be making this one again. This chicken Marsala has to be one of the best crock pot recipes I've ever had. I started out by adding 1.5 pounds of thinly sliced chicken to my slow cooker. I also had a little oil in there, and I had my crock pot on the stovetop setting, and I'm just searing that chicken on each side. You don't have to cook it through, just brown it up a little bit. And I seasoned that chicken with salt, pepper, Badia Complete, onion powder, garlic powder, thyme, and paprika. Okay, after that got some color to it, I added about 1.5 cups of sliced mushrooms, along with 2 teaspoons of minced garlic, and some garlic powder. Now I'm adding 1/2 cup of chicken broth, or you can do water. And you're going to need 1/2 cup of Marsala wine. I didn't have that, so I subbed with chicken broth, a little splash of balsamic vinegar, and a pinch of sugar. I added in about 1/2 teaspoon of pepper, then I covered this, and you're going to set it to cook on low for 6 hours. And it may not take that long though. Mine only took 4 hours, but my chicken was sliced pretty thin. You just want to cook it until that chicken is cooked through. And when that's done, you're going to remove that chicken to a separate plate. We'll get it back here in a second, but right now we're going to thicken up that sauce. I have 1/4 cup of cornstarch mixed with 1/3 cup of water here. You're just going to mix it until all the lumps are gone, and then add it right into your crock pot. You're going to stir it around, and then you can go ahead and put that chicken back in there. And then I kind of got ahead of myself here. I had done covered everything back up, and then I forgot that I did not put the heavy cream in. So I took that lid back off and added in 1/2 cup of heavy cream. You're going to stir that around, and then we're going to cover it back up and let it continue to cook for 20 or 30 more minutes until that sauce is thickened. And I know I'm probably going to get fussed at because I forgot to add the heavy cream when I was supposed to. But hey, at least I got it in there. Someone told me I should redo the whole entire recipe when I make a mistake like that. And yes, I could edit that out, but why? I'm real. Yes, I make mistakes, but I love to cook. Now back to this chicken marsala. I served it over homemade mashed potatoes, and it was absolutely delicious. And this is one I'll be making pretty regularly around here. You could also serve this over rice or even some pasta. You have got to try these Salisbury steak meatballs. I'm starting out by adding 3 cups of beef broth to my slow cooker, along with 2 packets of brown gravy mix. And by the way, they do make these gravy mixes in low sodium or reduced sodium. I'm also adding 1 packet of the onion soup mix. And for a little extra flavor, I'm adding about a tablespoon of Worcestershire sauce and about 2 tablespoons of ketchup. You're going to mix that or whisk it until it's all mixed together. And this is optional, but I added about 1.5 cups of sliced mushrooms, but you can leave them out if you don't like them. And I also added 1/2 cup of thinly sliced onions. And now for the meatballs, I'm adding a 32-ounce bag of the frozen meatballs. I use the home style. I don't think the Italian style would work with this, and mine were completely frozen. Now you're going to stir it and get those meatballs mixed into that sauce. Now we're going to cover this and set it to cook on low for 5 hours. And thanks to y'all, I finally figured out how to get my slow cooker or my crock pot below the 6-hour mark. I could not figure it out, but you have to hit start first and then you can drop it below 6. So thank y'all for that. Okay, these meatballs have been cooking for about 5 hours. You're going to give them a really good stir, and then we're going to thicken up this sauce. I made a little cornstarch slurry with 2 tablespoons of cornstarch and 2 tablespoons of water. Mix it until all the lumps are gone, and then pour it right into the crock pot. And then you're going to stir it all together, and then we're going to cover this back up and let it continue to cook for 15 to 30 minutes until that sauce has thickened. This was so good. And by the way, if you don't want your sauce quite as thick, you can leave that cornstarch slurry out or just cut it in half. And you could just do 1 tablespoon of cornstarch and 1 tablespoon of water. This was so good and the whole family loved it. I served this over mashed potatoes just because I had some left over already. But you could also serve this over egg noodles. Serve it over whatever you want to serve it over. They were packed full of flavor, and me personally, I loved the mushrooms in here. And this came together so quick, and it's really perfect for any night of the week. So if you're looking for an easy dinner idea in the crock pot, you have got to try this one. This taco angel chicken is definitely a family favorite. I'm starting out by adding 1.5 pounds of boneless skinless chicken to my crock pot. Next, you're going to add in a can of cream of chicken soup. And in case you didn't know, Campbell's brand does make a low sodium cream of chicken soup. I also added a can of Rotel, and that was undrained, along with 1 packet of taco seasoning. Now you're going to add 8 ounces of softened cream cheese. And I do cut mine into pieces, that way it melts easier. And sometimes if you add the whole block in there without dicing it up or cutting it up, you'll end up with little chunks of cream cheese, just because it doesn't get completely melted. I also added 1/2 cup of chicken broth. Then I covered it and set it to cook on low for 6 hours. Or however long it takes for that chicken to be completely cooked through. And when it's done, we're going to remove that chicken to a separate plate to shred, or you can dice it up if you prefer. And you're going to get your whisk out and make sure it's a rubber whisk. We don't want to scratch that crock pot. And you're going to whisk, whisk, whisk until it's smooth and creamy. Now you can go ahead and add that chicken back in there. And then we're just going to stir it around until it's all mixed into that sauce. By the way, in case y'all are new, I always have the recipes either linked or typed out in the description box below. I decided to cook up some angel hair pasta to serve this over, and I just cooked it according to the directions on the back of the box. But you could also serve this over rice or mashed potatoes. It's also good over the rotini pasta or the egg noodles. This is so good, and it's definitely a 10 out of 10. And the kids love it, which is great, so it's kid friendly. And I think it only took like 5 minutes to throw together. Perfect for those busy weeknights. And if you're tired of making the same old crockpot recipes, you gotta give this one a try. I really think you're gonna love it. I found these beef and cheddar sandwiches on TikTok, and I'm so glad I tried them. We're gonna start out by searing up the meat first. I added some oil along with a 3-pound chuck roast to my slow cooker. And I do have it set on the stovetop function right now, just so I can sear that meat. And I seasoned it with some salt, pepper, garlic powder, and onion powder. And when that chuck roast is browned on all sides, we can go ahead and add in the rest. I added half a sliced onion, along with 1 tablespoon of Montreal steak seasoning and 1 tablespoon of ranch seasoning. Then you're going to add in 2 cups of beef broth and some Arby's sauce. And the recipe didn't say how much Arby's sauce to add, so I did about a half a cup. And I also did a tablespoon of minced garlic. Now you're going to cover this and set it to cook on low, anywhere from 8 to 10 hours, until that chuck roast is completely cooked through and it's nice and tender. And when it's done, I just kind of uncovered it, kind of got all those onions off the top there. Then you're going to remove it to a separate plate or a bowl and shred it and add it right back into the crock pot. Oh, and while I'm thinking about it, if you're new, I would really love to have you here. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button down below. That way you get notified of all my future videos. And y'all, just look at this. It was so good. Now I served mine on these onion buns. They're really good. They're by Pepperidge Farm. But you could really use any kind of buns you like. I just added on some of that shredded chuck roast. Then I drizzled over some Arby's sauce, and you can add however much you like of this. Then I topped it with some nacho cheese sauce. And I just used the kind in the can. And I have to say, everyone was happy on this night. Oh, and I served it alongside some curly fries. And yes, I had to get the curly fries. You can't have an Arby's roast beef sandwich without curly fries. And I found these in the freezer section at Walmart. This was delicious. Definitely one I'll be making again. I've been wanting to make some Greek chicken for a while now, so I finally did it. You're going to start out by adding 1 medium-sized red onion to your crock pot. And I just cut mine in chunks. Then on top of those onions, you're going to lay down 2 pounds of boneless, skinless chicken thighs. Now I'm adding a 12-ounce jar of roasted red peppers, and that is undrained. I'm also adding 1 cup of Kalamata olives, and mine are sliced, and I did drain those. Now the recipe called for 3 tablespoons of red wine vinegar. I didn't have that, so I substituted with white wine vinegar. I also added a tablespoon of minced garlic, along with some garlic powder, onion powder, oregano, and thyme. And you're also going to add salt and pepper to taste. I'm adding a tablespoon of lemon juice, and you're also going to add 1 teaspoon of honey. But instead of the honey, I used the Swerve brown sugar replacement. And then if you haven't already added salt and pepper to taste, go ahead and do that now. Now we're going to top this with 4 tablespoons of butter. Then we're going to cover it and set it to cook on low for 6 hours. Now this is completely optional, but halfway through, I wanted to add in some cauliflower to this. I just did cauliflower florets and I cut them into smaller bite-sized pieces. But you could also add in some chunked diced potatoes here. And I did stir everything around and try to get that cauliflower down into that liquid. Then we're going to cover it back up and let it finish cooking until that chicken is cooked through and that cauliflower is tender. This was delicious. I cannot say enough good things about it. I will definitely be making it again and again. This is a really great one to make if you're trying to do low carb. And if you're not trying to do low carb, potatoes are really good in this. And you could top it with some feta cheese. I topped mine with some tzatziki sauce. And I think this is one of my favorite dinners I've had in a long time. I'm pretty sure I could eat it every day. I loved it that much. I really hope you enjoyed this video. You may also like these. Don't forget to subscribe down below for more easy recipes, and I will see you in the next one.